Working from home may mean I have to make my coffee every single day, but doesn't mean I'm going to get my caffeine fix. Hey ladies and gentlemen of the internet, Adrian here, and today we're going to be talking about, working from home and my general tips and guidelines, as well as just routines that I've built up over the last decade and what's worked for me. Keeping in mind that, of course, everybody's different, your situation is different, so things here may vary for you. But that said, I understand we're in a climate right now where working from home or remote may be a thing for more people, given the current climate. And I just kind of wanted to share my tips, given that prior to 2 years ago, I worked over a decade from home, starting out in a bedroom shooting these YouTube videos to eventually graduating and getting an office space within my own home, and over the years escalating that kind of home office setup. And these are the things that I've kind of defined as my guidelines and what works for me and may work for you. So starting off, number one, defining your space. Now I understand not everybody's going to have the ability to have a spare bedroom or even an office at that, but this can mean something as simple as a kitchen counter, a table, a desk in your room somewhere, a coffee table, just having a physical space where you're saying, like, I'm here to work. Really, if anything, it means just kind of getting out of your bed to get your day started. Number two, setting some sort of routine. Now this varies for your current situation, right? You may be working at a company where you have like a remote policy saying that you need to be available like you would during your remote or your typical hours, 9 to 5 or what have you. Maybe you have a flexible schedule like myself where you kind of define those hours or set your own, time, whether you're like running your own business or what have you. Setting some sort of routine. That can mean things like waking up at the same time every day, regardless of when you go to work or start work. Maybe ending work at a specific time. Because you blur that line of comfort and work by working from home, it can be easy to kind of, go one way or the other, waking up too late, stopping too late, so on and so forth. That leads me to number three, just being mindful of all those things. There's so many great freedoms that comes with working from home and remotely, don't get me wrong. You can do all sorts of things like, of course, you cut down on commute, so you can get a couple extra time in terms of sleep and whatnot. But again, not letting those comforts and those amenities, so to speak, lead to distractions. On that same token, or I should say on the opposite side of that token, like I said, a problem for me was always kind of knowing when to stop. Like, it's easy for me to get an email or get a ticket from a client and say like, I'm home anyway, I'm here at my computer, I might as well handle that. Whereas if it's like during a typical workday when I'm visiting clients, in my case, when I'm not at the client site, I know that, hey, I can respond to this later on their next visit or schedule it for my remote day and time. So figuring that out, being mindful, taking breaks. Again, it can be easy to get sucked into whatever you're doing, making sure you take breaks, even if it just means walking around the apartment. Number four, personalize it. Those freedoms I talked about earlier, you get to, make your work environment a little bit more comfortable for you. For me, that means playing lo-fi music in the background constantly. It may mean having YouTube videos open up in the background or listening to my podcast. And while your work environment in a normal office setting, you may be able to do some of those things, you just may not feel as comfortable. You get to personalize it a bit more being in your own space. I enjoy personally working from home from a productivity standpoint because I have my monitors, I have my widescreen, I have everything I need right here in front of me. Number five, switch it up. If this is possible for you, I know a couple people in my industry who work remote certain days of the week, and then they come into the office other days of the week just so they can kind of switch it up and interact with people, as well, just kind of get a different feel for breaking up your work week. This may mean something like going to a cafe or a public place where you can get Wi-Fi and hunkering down and working from there for the day. I used to do that a lot back when I was blogging and doing content for a living. For me right now, that means going from my current setup here in my bedroom to my actual dedicated office space in the apartment, and that has a standing desk, so I physically go from a state of sitting to standing just to kind of break out, get some physical movement in my day, and switch up the kind of workspace and environment. Number six, these tips are all dedicated to that of video etiquette. I know right now a lot of us are taking like these calls from home, and that can mean one-on-ones, it can mean all hands, and there's a lot of external factors when it comes to video, right? You can have the kids running in the background, you can have a lot of background noise, what have you. These are just some general tips. Number one, within that category, I think the idea of having professional up top, party down below is totally fine, just in case you ever have to hop on a work call and you don't want to get caught up in your pajamas. So having just something presentable, right? Looking presentable in the sense that you can hop on a video call at any time if you need to, if that's something that's like common within your work environment. Having a clear background, like unlike this, like where I have my door right here and I have other stuff going on. For YouTube, this is fine, but for like video calls and conference calls, if you want to eliminate the potential embarrassment or anything happening in the background, I think it's always good to like post up against the wall or something, you know, where you know people can't be coming by or causing distractions in your video call. Another common, I think, practice is good to follow is that of just muting your mic when you're not the speaker, just so it prevents background noise coming into the call. And just in general, always to be cautious when it comes to video calls, right? We see all these videos of people having things going on in the background accidentally, and sometimes those things are out of control, but just to be cautious, maybe put people on alert when you are going to be in some sort of video call. Moving on, number 7, from a security perspective and somebody who comes from IT as a background, for remote employees who are working outside of company networks, for some companies you may be required to be on some sort of VPN. If not, I would advise anyway to be on a VPN, especially when you're on things like public Starbucks Wi-Fi or cafe Wi-Fi's, services like Tunnel Bear, NordVPN, whatever your VPN app of choice is, whether it's free or paid. VPN essentially tunnels your traffic and makes you more anonymous when you're browsing on public Wi-Fi so that your data can't be snooped or tracked. And I think that's always a good remote tip. Number 8, piggybacking off of that, is just utilizing the tools that are available nowadays when it comes to remote. There's so many more tools in this day and age when it comes to like technology stuff like Slack, Zoom, Google Hangouts, all these tools that you can use to collaborate with your team, your business. You can communicate, you can video chat, even tools like, you know, your email and stuff like that. All these apps and services that are out there nowadays make working remotely and not necessarily physically in space with your coworkers and whatnot much more easier. Dropbox, Google Drive, the list obviously goes on. I know in the past for me, we used to use TeamSpeak and Vent, which is typically used for gaming services. My team used to use that to communicate, and it would be a way for us to hop in a channel in case we ever needed to kind of collaborate on something or touch base on something, or just honestly to have background noise and have that kind of social interaction. That's one of the things I struggled with working from home majority of my life, was that like you're socially isolated a lot of times, and I know in this particular climate we can feel like that. So again, take advantage of those social tools, video calls, Zoom, Slack, whatever it may be. Number 9, managing distractions. All those apps, all those services, and then you get introduced to things like social media and social networking, can be also a whole world of distractions as well. Back in the day, I had to use social media a lot for like pushing out our content. When I would do new videos, post new blog posts, I would post it out to Twitter, so on and so forth. The other problem with that was I would get sucked into the social media black hole and waste too much time on those platforms. So I ended up using a Chrome add-on that would actually block social media sites after I used it for a certain period of time. So I would set that to like 15 or 25 minutes, and then after that, it wouldn't let me reach those sites. That was the extreme, and that worked for me because it would be like, hey, reminder, get off the site and get to work. If you have more self-discipline, you won't need a tool like that, but I'll link the description down below, the extension that I use to do so. Number 10, again, this is one that is just varying, but for me it worked, and I was dressing the part. When I was younger, I remember somebody recommended like just getting up and dressing what you envision as your work uniform. That may mean a button-up, that may mean just a t-shirt. For me, I love the idea of like wearing a suit and having the excuse to put on a suit. I love clothing. I like the way it made me feel, it looked. So every morning I'd get up and I'd throw on a suit and shower, get showered, do my morning routine, throw on a suit and get to work. It helped me, just remind myself physically I'm here to work even though I'm at home. Even if I wasn't meeting with anybody or even shooting a video that day, it was just a reminder that I'm here to work. Also, on the other side, it made it easier for me not to walk across the hall and go back to bed. Number 11, investing in your setup, especially for those of you who may be doing this a little bit more for an extended period or even just permanently, like you're a freelancer or entrepreneur. I think investing in the setup that you have at home is definitely something you should consider. Now that can range from hardware like your mice and your keyboard and even down to your desk and your monitors. I think ergonomics is a big thing to consider when you're working from a perspective like this, where you're sitting in front of something for a majority of your workday. Making sure everything is optimal, ergonomic, your eye level with your monitor, it's not too bright, things like that, because you are going to be sitting here and or whatever your job may entail, doing that for a long period of time. Investing in things that make it more comfortable and allow you to be more productive. A simple thing, like for me, the office chair was something I used to just always get because it was like cheaper or convenient. But I sit for a majority of my workday, and now I've switched to standing every now and again. But investing in things like that really do go a long way, not just for your work environment, but your overall health. Lastly, I guess number 12, just an additional tip, make it your own, right? At the end of the day, we all have different work schedules, we all have different workflows, environments, styles that work for us. Back when I was working in the content creation space, I was in Japan for a majority of those years. A lot of my clients and the people I worked with were in the States, so that meant being up later, working at night, waking up later in the day, and shifting that schedule. But that's what worked for me, right? And I know people who are content creators now have studios, have their own office that they go to, just like you would commute to a normal office, even though they don't need that, or it's not required. I know other people who, again, work completely different schedules and environments, and they work from coffee shops. At the end of the day, the objective of working from home, just like you would in an office, is to get from point A to point B to complete your task at hand and get the job done. However you go about doing that in this case is varied on you. So with that, ladies and gentlemen, I hope these tips helped out some of you out there. I would love to hear your own work from home remote tips. Any of you who have been doing it for quite a while, tools that you use, recommend, or tips in general, leave them down in the comments below. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, I'll catch you all in the next one.